運が悪かったんだよ、お前らは。
So there's one last big time-wasting activity that we can cover before we can start dedicating ourselves entirely to the main story, and that is the hostess clubs. The infamous hostess clubs. Ah, for fuck's sake. So there's one last big time-wasting obstacle. Time-wasting activity that we need to take care of before we can start dedicating ourselves properly to the main story. And that is the infamous hostess clubs. So the hostess clubs in the game are a mainstay of the series, been in it since the original PS1 game. PS2, sorry. I don't know why I keep saying that. Since the original PS2 game. And, golly, I fucking hate them. I don't like the hostess clubs. I never have. They're the worst. But they're in literally every single game. And they've gotten better, because they used to be atrocious. They used to be mandatory for fighting the final boss. If you wanted to... For the secret boss. If you wanted to fight the secret boss, you had to do the hostess clubs. Usually they say what you should order. You have to do the hostess clubs in order to get their side stories done, so then you can fight the secret boss. But I think starting with Yakuza 4, they finally said, okay, we're not going to make those mandatory. They're going to be a part of a separate completion list. But back in the day, up through Yakuza 3, if you wanted to fight the secret boss, you had to do the hostess clubs. And they're still awful. I don't like them.
いや、
あ、そうなんですか。でもいいですよね、筋肉ある人って。
なんだ。
いや、自分ではやりませんけど。それも全然。
ひょっとして。
どうしてわかったんですか？すごい、全部お見通しなんですね。桐生さんってキャバクラの達人？そうなんだ。経験豊富なんですね。私にもキャバクラのこといろいろ教えてください。実は私まだキャバのお仕事始めたばっかりで全然勝手が分かんないんですよ。
おお。
それはもちろん可愛い女の子が集まる職場だからですよ。というかですね、私幼稚園の頃からずっと女子高育ちだったんで、女の子がいない生活って考えられないんです。私が男だったらお客として毎日キャバに通うところですけど、残念ながら女なので。 私女の子が好きなんです。右を向いても左を向いても可愛い女の子ばかり。まさにここは天国です。羨ましいでしょ。更衣室だって入りたい放題なんですよ。
おお。
女同士だから全然問題ないですよ。オールオッケーです。桐生さんも男の人のことが好きになればきっとこの感覚がわかりますよ。キャバってお給料いいじゃないですか。可愛い女の子と一緒にいられる上にこんなにもらえるなんてほんと天国ですよ。そうなったらピンチです。こんないい職場経験しちゃうともう他のバイトには戻れないかも。今のうちにできるだけ稼いでしっかり貯金しとかないとな。やっぱりカメラ買ってる場合じゃないよね。
何？
今流行ってるんですよ、一眼レフ。写メよりもよっぽど綺麗だしこだわりがある感じがちょっと大人って感じ。でもなかなかお金がたまらなくて全然買えないんですよね。それが最近金銭感覚が麻痺してきちゃって、ちょっとの距離でもタクシー使っちゃったりレンタルの延滞料金が気にならなくなったりとか。こんなんじゃいつまでたってもカメラ買えないよ。得してるのかな。
そうだな。
確かに歩かなくなってからちょっと体が楽になりましたし、深夜に慌てて返却に行くこともなくなりました。
どうだ？
そっか、桐生さんいいこと言いますね。それじゃあこれからもお金があるときはじゃんじゃん使っていこうかな。それにお金が苦しくなってきたらきっと桐生さんが助けてくれるだろうし。
おいおい。
女の子同士でおしゃべりしてるとご飯屋さんの話題が多いんですよ。
おお。
でおすすめされたお店に実際行ってみるとすっごい良くて、それはそれでいいんですけど、たまには私の方からお店を紹介したいんですよね。
なんだ？
そうなのかな。美味しいお店一つ知ってたらそれで十分っていうか、わざわざ他のお店に行く理由がないと思うんです。だから同じお店にばっかり何度も通っちゃっていつまでたってもレパートリーが増えないんですよね。
そうだな。
とはいえそういう失敗も含めていろんなお店に行ってみようと思うんですよ。どういうところがいいのかな。
どうだ？
男の人ってほんとラーメンが好きですよね。スープの味がなんとか系って言われても何のことかちんぷんかんぷんです。
そうだな。
それいいかも。 店に入るのに勇気がいるってだけで食べたいって思ってる子は結構いるんですよね。本当ですか？実は行ってみたいお店があるんですよ。桐生さんが一緒なら私も安心して入れます。
いや、
ありがとうございます。
So as you can see, that's basically the extent of what the hostess clubs have to offer. It's basically just a dating minigame type thing. You sit through bad dialogue, and you have to pick one of 3 responses, and you want to try and pick the response that'll raise the hostess's affection. It's basically just a dating minigame. I don't like I don't like dating games. I don't like visual novels based around that. Like, there are entire games based around that. But this being Japan, visual novels, dating sims are an entire genre that whole games are based around. For some reason, this is just a big thing. So these hostess clubs are in every single game, and they're actually a big deal. Whenever they do a new Yakuza game, they put out a casting call for real-life hostesses, usually are who try out, but I mean, it's technically open to anyone. Fuck off, you judgmental lesbian bitch. And women, like usually it's actual hostesses, audition to be one of the hostesses in the new Yakuza game. So, Rina here is an actual woman who exists. I mean, obviously, she's played by an actress, but she's also not an actress because she just auditioned to be like, oh, they're putting out the casting call for who wants to be the hostess in the new Yakuza game. I'm gonna go audition. And I don't know when they started doing that. It could have been since the first game, for all I know.
そうですか。じゃあ恋人に浮気されたことってあります？
いや。
I think they've started putting more production effort into the hostess clubs, and that has caused like the selection of hostesses to get smaller and smaller, because usually there's like 3 girls per hostess club. But now, ever since Yakuza 5, now the hostess minigame is like staring at their face like this. And you have this like, I guess it's supposed to like simulate an intimate conversation. I don't know. It's not for me. But it does have that, it does add to the whole virtual tourism aspect of it, because this isn't really something that we have a real equivalent to. The idea of just like, I'm gonna pay money to go to a hostess club where I'm just gonna sit there and talk to a woman. You're paying money to have a social interaction with someone. It's always this weird thing where they're like, oh, we like, you have to be like, no, it's not a strip joint. It's a hostess club. And it's like, what? And I always think they have a hard time translating it, too, because if you've been paying attention to the dialogue, they say, like, cabaret club, or I'm a cabaret girl. And it's like, that's not what it is. It's a hostess club. I think they're just trying to, like, translate it into something that's, more digestible for a Western audience. And in this re-release, the girls in this game are brand new for this release. They're not like adapting the hostess girls that were in the original PS2 game or anything. This is a all new. They didn't reuse the hostesses from the original game.
そうですよね。だから私もそのメールを見て思わず幸せになれよって返事しちゃいました。
This hostess in particular is very, when did this come out? After 2015. Very 2016, 2017.
もう会えないかもしれないけど元気でいてほしいです。
So yeah, there honestly, there's not a lot to say in terms of the gameplay. I mean, you can buy food or order drinks, and depending on if she likes the thing you ordered, that will raise her affection. You can buy presents and bring them to the host club and give them to her as a present, and that'll raise her affection, but it's really pointless to do that. You can raise all of the girls' affection meters to the max without spending really any money on them. It just takes a little bit longer, but there's guides online that you can follow to say like, yeah, use this response, it's fine. And there's honestly not much to say about it beyond, you know, this is what the gameplay is. You sit there, you stare at her fucking stupid face, you read bad dialogue, and you pick a dialogue option. And you pick the one that raises their affection. And then once their affection's raised to a certain point, you can progress the relationship. So I'm going to go back to our book, Tokyo Vice. I really appreciate that I'm having sinus issues are coming back when I decide I want to read from a fucking book. So we're going to go to a chapter of Tokyo Vice which goes into the concept of host and hostess clubs. And I think that's good because one of the prominent location, Stardust, where our supporting characters Yuya and Kazuki work, is a host club. So we can cover the concept of hostess clubs and host clubs at the same time. So it'll be like we're killing two birds with one stone or something. We're talking about the gameplay we're seeing right now, and we're exploring the concept of something that is a main story feature that we'll continue to go back to repeatedly. There. Okay, so Tokyo Vice, page 158. My night as a hostess. You can look at Kabukicho as an example of the sociopathology of Japanese life, or you could look at it as a microcosm of relationships in general. Host and hostess clubs are probably the most misunderstood aspects of Japan's adult entertainment industry. They're not about sex, they're about the illusion of intimacy and the titillating possibility of sex. Intimacy is a commodity in Japan, and it rarely comes for free. It's the same way in the United States, we just pay different people. In the United States, we pay psychiatrists, therapists, and counselors, and life coaches to listen to our problems, raise our self-esteem, pretend they like us, and give us good advice. Friends used to do those things for free, but friends have been known to retreat when the water gets too deep. Japan tends to believe that going to a shrink is a sign of weakness. I mean, in America they do too. We do too. And an admission of mental illness, so there's still a tendency to avoid those types of paid friendships. After covering the Kabukicho beat, I learned that when a Japanese man wants his ego as opposed to his penis stroked, when he gets to be... I learned that when a Japanese man wants his ego as opposed to his penis stroked, when he wants to be fussed over or have someone listen to his problems, he doesn't go home to his wife, he goes to a hostess club. A hostess club is not a sex club. A hostess club is not a pickup joint or a singles bar. It's usually a small bar with several attractive women who will greet you warmly, sit down and chat with you on the sofa, sing karaoke with you, and act as if they were your lover, or flirt with you as though they might want to be. I would have filled up her affection meter if it wasn't for her initial loss of affection at the beginning because I was wearing unattractive equipment. Usually the guides say, like, what their favorite food or drink order is, and you can use that to get some easy affection points. But this one does not for some reason. Be unequipped by... Better fucking remember to equip that back on. You can get equipment that's like a certain type of equipment, like a charismatic ring, which will... Oh, her date event triggered early. Which will make you more attractive and raise their affection right at the beginning. Okay, so after a certain point, once you raise their affection meter high enough, the hostesses will invite you out on a date. This is something that does not happen with real-life hostesses, by the way, so this is part of the wish fulfillment. This is the fantasy of including the hostess clubs in these games is, oh, in the games, the hostess will actually want to go out with you. Although I don't know what kind of fantasy Rena is supposed to fulfill here.
Nani?
I don't want to be your fag hag, Rena. Horde dog. I honestly really just tend to just blitz through the dialogue with these because I literally just do not fucking care. I just go purely off of the answer guide. I barely ever read their fucking stupid story. It's always really dumb. Oh, great. Awesome. So worth it. It's another... That's a wasted club visit's what that is. Usually you get to pick where you want to go. That's why I was gonna save karaoke, because usually you get to pick where you want to go on a date with the hostesses. And karaoke is always an option. So it's a good way to kill two birds with one stone. Okay, didn't lose any affection that time.
Ton.
So this is what I normally do.
Soだな。
それくらいなら男のままでもできるんじゃないですか？桐生さんとっても男らしいからそういうタイプが好みの人にモテそう。
おいおい。
This is normally what I do when I'm doing the hostess clubs in these games. It's just like, I don't fucking care, all your dialogue's stupid. I'm just doing this for the chivos. So anyway, where do we leave off?
もうすぐクリス
A
マス
hostess club is not a sex club. A hostess club is not a pickup joint or a singles bar. It's usually a small bar of several attractive women who will greet you warmly, sit down and chat with you on a sofa, sing karaoke with you, and act as if they were your lover or flirt with you as though they might want to be. Typically, the woman running a hostess bar, the mama-san, is a former hostess with a scratchy, rough voice from years of inhaling secondhand smoke, drinking watered-down whiskey, and staying up too late. If you want to know the number of years any particular woman has been working in the industry, just listen to the timbre of her voice. If she sounds like Scatman Crothers, she's a veteran. It's not unheard of for a hostess to date a customer, just rare. The problem with turning a customer into a boyfriend for the hostess is a loss of revenue, not to mention the potential of alienating other regular customers. The hostess has to maintain an illusion of availability to encourage a pseudo-courtship that might someday, eventually, culminate in sex. Although along the way to that elusive goal line, which few regular customers ever reach, a man might blow $10,000 in a year courting a hostess, buying her drinks, giving her birthday presents, and occasionally taking her out to dinner. On a nippy day in October 1999, I was hanging around the Kabukicho Koban shooting the breeze with one of the officers. He said something about the Vice Squad raiding a host club that night. At first, I didn't get it. A host club? You mean a hostess club? No, it's like a hostess joint, but with the guys doing the hosting. You mean a gay joint? No, women go to those clubs, and hosts wait on them, just like a hostess would wait on guys. You know, compliment them, pour them drinks, flirt, get them to talk, get them to shell out cash. Look around. What do you think these faggy guys in expensive suits and long red hair are doing in Kabukicho at 3 in the morning? I'd always thought they were trying to pick up chicks, not herd them into the bar that serviced them. Well, compulsive observer of social phenomena that I am, I wanted to be a part of it. Let's try ordering a drink this time. Yep, get a little bit of extra
こっちお願い
affection points for that. At TMPD, Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, at the end of the day, I grabbed Nojima, one of the senior Vice Squad guys, and suggested a beer. I didn't have to work hard to convince him. But when, in the middle of the first round of drinks, I mentioned the raid that night, he was pissed. He didn't want the story out before its time. We've got 2 more places to hit. If you sit on the story for a day, I'll give you an exclusive.
私もそういう粋な生き方が似合う女になりたいです じゃあです
I'm crippled whenever I see a question that is not covered in the guide here.
もしキリさんが自分のこと可愛いって言ったらどう思います
It wasn't the guide, I just wasn't paying attention. Okay, I said, being ever so cooperative, but I want the details now. He wasn't willing to tell me at first, but after a bit, here is the story he gave me. The Shinjuku Police and the TMPD Juvenile Protection Department had decided that host clubs were a breeding ground for juvenile delinquency. They had already raided 4 clubs for violations of the adult entertainment and sex industry laws, operating without a license and allowing juveniles into adult facilities. It used to be that only women who went to host bars were hostesses, but times have changed. What we keep seeing is college girls, sometimes even high school girls with money, who start going to host clubs.
下ネタを聞かされた女の子の反応を楽しんでるっていうかセクハラ目当てみたい
They love the personal attention, and maybe they get infatuated with the host, who milks them for everything they have. The girls accumulate debts, and at some point, the management introduces them to a job in the sex industry, so that they can pay off their debts. Sometimes the guys running the host bars are the same guys who run the sex clubs. Some girls start shoplifting and reselling merchandise to pay off their host bar tabs. We've seen enough to know that these aren't isolated incidents. In July of that year, the Shinjuku police had gotten a call from the parents of a high school dropout. Their daughter had received a bill from a host club in Kabukicho for 4 million yen, close to $40,000 then. The parents had freaked out. Pretty sure we're gonna get another date scene here. Maybe not. I will kill time out here. Find out. Yep. She's gonna be in the same spot. They're always in the same spot. Yeah, so the way it used to be is you had to progress through the relationship with the hostess in order to build up their relationship so you could go on the date with them, and then at the end they would have like some sub-story tied with them, and you had to finish that sub-story associated with that hostess if you wanted to finish your list of sub-stories so that you could fight the secret boss. It was really fucking annoying. And in Kiwami, you don't actually get to choose where you go on a date with them, which means I do actually have to go to karaoke later at some point. I was misremembering. Which means there's actually less oh, for fuck's sake! I think that takes away a little bit from the appeal that I imagine the hostess clubs in the games are supposed to evoke, because now you're not even getting the chance to go on a date with them. It's just doing another generic scene. The parents had freaked out. The police chief checked out the host club and found it was operating without a license. They arrested the young owner in August. In September, they launched a broader investigation and were surprised to find 71 host clubs in operation. 3 years earlier, there had been 20. Why the large increase? According to Nojima, in this day and age, girls just wanted to have fun. Hosts just wanted to make money. And with sexual liberation and economic empowerment, women had no problem buying affection just as much as men. It was a little strange to be hearing sociological theory coming out of the mouth of a cop, but then again, Nojima wasn't your ordinary cop. He was a graduate of Sophia and had majored in psychology and was a certified counselor, but he was quick to underscore the economic motive. A good host club pocketed the equivalent of more than $300,000 a year. Nojima, playing sociologist again, suggested I write an article on host clubs, which people knew little about. He named 3 establishments, and I visited each of them. After being met with the usual confusion about a gaijin writing for the Yamiori, I could ask her out on a date. I'm a fucking idiot. I was pleasantly surprised that the proprietors were willing to talk to me. One even invited me to spend the night as a host. I took him up on the offer, of course.
自分に正直って言うんですかね。
Okay. I'll invite her out to karaoke.
どうだ
See, that was my plan. My plan was to be able to get karaoke done while also doing the hostess clubs.
なんだ
さこの
そうだな
運動あーダメダメ。
But before that, okay, back to Tokyo Vice, by the way. But before that, I gathered my notes and spoke to my editor about the raids, a breaking story. Kasama, one of the few women at the Shakaibu, helped me put the article together and convinced the desk to run it in the national edition. Hamaya, one of the other women of the division, gave me a few words of faint praise for my efforts and some good suggestions. It was a good feeling. The article was published in the Yamori Morning Edition on October 6th, ahead of the official announcement that afternoon. It was a nice little scoop. Save that page, because we're gonna go to the karaoke with our lesbian host buddy. Is she not gonna... Where is she? Oh, well, where is she? She didn't text me. Bitch! I walked out the club, why you text me? Do I have to find her on Nakamichi Street? I didn't see any dialogue saying where I should meet her. She at Theater Square? Oh, she is at Theater Square. Okay, so we're going to take this opportunity to go ahead and check out the karaoke. If I can avoid this, no! So the hostess clubs and then karaoke is the only other thing I didn't do yet. So we're gonna do the hostess clubs and karaoke at the same time. There, that bitch. We're going singing, bitch. Karaoke, motherfucker. Oh yeah, take a girl out to mahjong. Right? That's a good date. Maybe if you're dating like a 50-year-old chain-smoking housewife. Karaoke is another weird thing Japan does, where you go to a karaoke establishment, and then you pay to go in a room with no one but you and or your friends, or just by yourself, and just sing karaoke in a room, and that's what you do. So naturally, it's a rhythm minigame. What I do think is cool about the karaoke minigames in the Yakuza series is they get the actual voice actors of the characters to do the songs. And not all of them can sing. Like, they don't hire them based on their singing ability, and yet they will make them do karaoke songs. So you'll get a couple characters sometimes who are good actors but bad singers, so if you take them to the karaoke, it can be a pretty funny session of karaoke.
歌う姿がセクシーだぜ。
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty typical. You don't really need to go to karaoke more than once to show off what it is. You don't really need to show it off once to know what it is. Yeah, it's obviously just a rhythm minigame. It's okay, I'm just doing memes. Get sick hype for memes, everybody. Is everyone ready for memes?
Sing for you. バカみたい子供なのね夢を
I'm doing the meme song. Yeah, the fish singing Bakamatai. I don't know why that suddenly became a meme. The weirdest, stupidest things will become memes. For no fucking reason. Oh, I heard the door open. It is a meme from the Yakuza video game. It is a song where he sounds sad, so we'll face more. A fish singing about how sad it is to be a fish. But please play Yakuza. They are good games. You should play them. This is gonna be a pain in the ass to sync to. Especially because I'm gonna try and edit out all these goddamn sniffles! Yeah. The panel of karaoke animal judges. Kiryu's voice actor is pretty good singing. I feel like that's a core, like, fundamental aspect of Agretsuko that is just never actually explained. Because karaoke doesn't fucking work like this. Outside of Japan. I don't know why Japan doesn't realize that. Okay, so we covered karaoke. We covered all the minigames. I am going to finish doing the hostess clubs, because I still have more Tokyo Vice to read. But we've covered everything. After we finish the hostess clubs, we can continue the main story. And without distraction. We got everything out of the way. Okay, so continuing on page 161. A few evenings later, I picked out my best suit, trimmed the hair in my ears and my nose, and splashed on some cologne. My shirt was pressed, my tie was straight, my nails were trimmed, I didn't have any seaweed stuck between my teeth, so I felt fairly debonair. I didn't look anything like a seedy private detective or a struggling English teacher. Or, for that matter, like a hungry newspaper reporter. I looked like a host. I was located in the back alleys of Kabukicho, near a stand-up shop bar not far from the Furin Kaikan. The storefront was garish, with neon tubing, spotlight photos of the top-selling hosts, and a gold leaf ladies' club sign above the entrance. Oh, the questions are repeating.
そうだな
Two bronze-like statues of muscular men guarded the front door, on which the ideograph for I, which means love, was written in red. It was a combination of expensive Art Deco and 1950s diner kitsch. Once you go down the steps, you enter the club, which is illuminated by a crystal chandelier, but is otherwise dark. Lights ripple over the dance floor as if over a pond. Plush, round couches are dotted throughout the room. The effect is rather like a planetarium, as the lights are reflected from bronze statues, silver mirrors, and shiny decor, like stars on the summer night. Perhaps this is an overly poetic description of the place, but that's the idea of it. I'm pretty sure we have her finished off here. Yeah, okay. So one hostess down. Once you finish filling up her relationship meter, yep, there's the sub-story. So the hostess clubs in this game are mandatory if you want to fight the final boss. I mean, hey, it is a remake of the first game, and that's how it was in the first game, so it makes sense. Fuckers move. Nope, that's not it. Cafe Alps. That's it. Gotta go to the murder cafe. Oh god, fuck off, zombie Majima. No! Yakuza Dead Souls was bad! Get away from me! Is she just in front of it, or is she inside it? I had to run in here to escape zombie Majima. But I think she's outside. Yep, that seems about right. So we gotta be a wingman for our lesbian hostess to finish off her sub-story. Where is she? Rena! Where's that dyke? I'm so mean. There we go. Yeah, rest assured there was not a lesbian hostess in the original 2005 PS2 release. Not that I remember, anyway. Here she is. Yeah, so, as with all Yakuza sub-stories, the hostess sub-stories always end with, go to the place, beat the shit out of people, talk to a person. They're pretty much all they pretty much all shape out the same exact way. And then the hostess club ones are always unique in how they end, and they all end the same way. I don't know if gaydar was the word they used in the original Japanese. What a horrible... This is why I was making fun of her and being mean. Because she's a bitch! This character's actually a bitch. She's actually, like, a bad person. I don't like her.
Nani?
You ditched out on your date, you fucking hussy. Kiryu's real mad that you're compromising your identity. Don't you know, in the year of our Lord 2020, people can be non-binary? Kiryu is more woke than most social justice warriors. Shock of shocks. Yeah, but what if they don't conform to traditional gender norms? Then they must be the other gender, though. That's what that means, right? That's how that works. Nah, man, you gotta get with a dyke. That's how it goes. No, lipstick lesbians. That's what they're called. Bears. What we need to have in a Yakuza game is a discussion about the gay male subculture known as bears, okay? I mean, look, there are a couple guys in the Yakuza games that I would definitely qualify as twinks. Oh wait, no, what was the Always Sunny skit? This guy went from a twink to a twink to a twunk. A twink and a hunk. Oh, he's a bear. No, there's otters. Subset of bear, but whereas bears are more, get all of their power from being masculine and powerful, otters are slippery. I'm misremembering the joke so much, but I just always end up thinking about Always Sunny in Philadelphia for various different reasons. Yeah, so anyway, all the Hostess Club sub-stories result in Kiryu banging her. It's weird this time because she's a lesbian, so Kiryu's banging a lesbian. Also, you get a sex video. I told you that they put out casting calls and hire real actual hostesses to do the hostesses in the Yakuza games, right? So there's not always a sex video like that, but there is the implication of a sex scene that happens, no matter what. Presumably she gave him a striptease and they probably masturbated or something, I don't know. It's kind of uncomfortable to imagine that the implication of Kiryu sticking it in a lesbian. I don't know, maybe that's a fantasy. I don't get it. It's not my thing. Anyway. Yeah, so she's done. So every time you finish off a hostess relationship, you end up fading to black and reappear in the hotel district. And as I mentioned before, the hotel district is where all the sex hotels are. So yeah, the implication is always that once Kiryu finishes romancing the hostess, he bangs her, even if she's a lesbian. Kiryu is canonically a virgin, though, so none of the hostess clubs are canon, even though they are required in order to fight Amon, the secret boss, and the secret boss, and Kiryu fighting the secret boss is canon. I don't think anyone thought that out very well. Fighting the secret boss is always canon, but Kiryu banging the hostesses, which he does at the end of every hostess sub-story, is not canon. However that works. Anyway, thank goodness we only have one more hostess to deal with. Usually, like I said, there's a minimum of 2 clubs, and each club has 3 girls. So in this game, being a fan mod sequel to Yakuza 0, we've only got 2 hostesses to deal with this time around. And this one's not even a lesbian. So picking back up on page 161... When I arrived for duty at 6, incredibly early for a host club, Takeshi Aida, the owner and president of the chain of I-clubs, was waiting for me. He had a paunch perm, tight curls all over his head, a thin Mexican mustache, and photochromatic oval shades. He wore an expensive suit with a fine sheen to it, and a patterned silk tie knotted so tightly one feared insufficient oxygen was getting to his round baby face. At 59 years of age, he had an undeniable, if hard to put your finger on, charm. He was very good at making you feel comfortable. Aida was born in the Niigata prefecture, the 6th of 9 brothers. When he was 20, he left Niigata for the big city. He went to work for a bed company where he became a top salesman, started a crime prevention goods business, which went bankrupt, then opened up a wig business, which introduced him to the women-oriented economy. This led to a job as a host. A year later, he was hired away by another host club, and then hired away again a couple years later by the largest host club in the city. Obviously, Aida had something going for him. Recognizing his calling, he started I, which soon established itself as the gold standard of host clubs. In the years after that, Aida created a small empire of host clubs, pubs, and bars. I was such a fixture of the Kabukicho nightlife that at some point it was included on a bus tour for middle-aged women from the countryside. When Aida hired me for a night, he had about 300 men in 5 clubs in his employ. He had also written a book on business management, and his wife had written a book about the joys and perils of being married to a professional host. Aida was more than willing to talk about the host club business. Host clubs used to be a place where women came to dance with attractive young men. Now, many women come here because they're lonely. They can't meet a nice guy at work. They want someone who will talk to them, listen to them, They want a shoulder to cry on, someone to sympathize with them. They want the human touch. Some will even ask for advice on how to handle their boorish boyfriends. But some just want a guy to dance with. They like ballroom dancing. Women like hosts who can make them laugh, who can say witty things about what's going on, or talk about the latest television shows. The most popular hosts are not necessarily the best-looking guys. A good host is a good listener, entertainer, and counselor, and knows when to pour a lady's drink. Now, the fact that in these clubs men pour drinks for women is noteworthy. I'll just splurge a little bit here. Oh, I should since I'm rolling in the bank, I might as well show what happens if you order gold champagne, which is the most expensive drink. Oh, sometimes there'll be a cute little scene if you buy the gold champagne. I can never remember which ones got the additional touch. I think it might be Yakuza 5, actually. Anyway. Now, the fact that in these clubs, men pour drinks for women is noteworthy. In Japanese society, when socially boozing, you never pour your own drinks. Inferiors or younger people are expected to pour drinks for their superiors and elders. The unspoken rule is when women are present, they are always expected to serve men. So if you are a Japanese woman, having a man serve you and look after your needs is indeed a thrill. But part of being a good host is knowing how much your client can afford to spend. This is a quote, by the way, so we're back to Ida talking. But part of being a good host is knowing how much your client can afford to spend. You can't bankrupt the customer. You can't push her into financial difficulties. That would create a lot of trouble for everybody. The new host clubs, they use young, cute guys to lure the customers into the clubs. They set the bar low, promising the customer drinks for as cheap as 5,000 yen, about $50. They let anyone into the clubs, even women who are drunk. Easy marks. The women end up owing. That's when loan sharks come in. The really bad clubs are basically a front for organized crime. I has been in business for a long time. We keep accurate accounts, we pay our taxes, and we are registered with the police, so the Yakuza can't extort anything out of us. The new host clubs, even if they don't start out as scams, because they are unlicensed, they are vulnerable. They're easily blackmailed and can quickly turn into money makers for the Yakuza. The host clubs run by the Yakuza, they're not real host clubs at all. They're pimp clubs. Their goal is to make customers into hookers or debt slaves. Why are host clubs so popular? Because of the men. Handsome, charming men who know what women want. They're the reason. Some of the women fancy themselves rich playboys. Playgirls, I guess. They want to sleep with the host, and they'll pay to keep that fantasy alive. They're no different from the men who go to hostess clubs and drop a lot of cash. They have a dream that they're going to have sex with this object of everybody's desires. But for most women, we offer them the perfect date. They can spend an evening being fussed over by a good-looking guy without any of the hassle of a relationship. The host is available whenever she wants. She's never stood up. It's simulated romance, which some women like. Sort of like virtual love. God damn it, where is it? No. Wait. Ow! Damn street ruffians. Don't have time for your bullshit. Man, I'm playing Yakuza 3 off camera, and goddamn, it is nice to be able to actually cause damage. We'll get to that when we get to it. It's nice to know when you punch someone, it actually takes their health down. Smirky jerk. Quick, protect me. Hey, so this was actually mentioned in the game, in the book. Ding. What a patronizing, like, little affection bar raise. We're not doing karaoke again. Although different hostesses will pick different songs to play if you go to the karaoke joints with them. But for most women, we offer them the perfect date. They can spend an evening being fussed over by a good-looking guy without any of the hassle of a relationship. The host is available whenever she wants. She's never stood up. It's a simulated romance, which some women like. Sort of like virtual love. Let's get orange juice, you fucking hussy. A very elegant woman in her late 40s wearing a black dress came over to sit next to Ida while we were talking. She removed a cigarette from her purse quietly, and no sooner had the cigarette grazed her lips than Ida was lighting it for her with a bright red chrome Zippo. He introduced me to her, and she offered me her hand, which I, not knowing what to do, kissed. Ida gave me a broad smile of approval. We made small talk while Ida retrieved drinks for us from the bar. I was surprised he didn't order one of the unoccupied hosts to do it. Maybe he was trying to impress upon me the importance of being a good host. I will be honest, I envisioned myself walking into the host club and beautiful women gathering around me while I lit their cigarettes and made them feel desirable. I figured they'd be fascinated by my gaijin charm and my mastery of the nuances of the Japanese language. I'd entertain them with stories of my career and they'd listen, fascinated, begging for my business card and secretly desiring my body. In reality, I was more or less ignored. Obviously, the women who are coming to a host club are looking for an attractive Japanese man, not a goofy Jewish American in an expensive suit. I did pour drinks for a Filipino hostess. I did listen to a housewife complain about her husband while I kept lighting her cigarettes, which she smoked in rapid succession. And I did have a hostly encounter. But I ended up spending more time chatting with the other hosts while on a coffee break. Kazu, age 29, formerly worked for a pharmaceutical company. In one sense, he told me, you're appealing to their motherly instincts. You treat them like a queen, and if they like you, they make you their favorite, their #1 host. I love this job. I'm raking in 6,000 yen, about $6,000. I'm raking in 600,000 yen a month, and that doesn't include the presents I get. One woman brought me this gold-plated Rolex on my wrist. I think the wife of a banker who is totally into me is going to buy me a car for my birthday. You want to let the customers know your birthday way in advance, because it's like a bonus time if you work at a company. I prefer cash, but usually they give you expensive designer gifts. I pawn some stuff, but things like clothes and watches, well, they expect you to wear them. This woman, Mariko, is the president of a firm that makes men's underwear. Funny if you think about it, because most of her clients are gay and she's paying me to pour her drinks. She gave me a Patek Philippe for my birthday. Expensive as hell, but horribly gaudy diamond-studded thing. She doesn't know anything about watches, only how much they cost. I bought a rip-off Hong Kong and pawned the original. If she shows up, I slip on the fake watch. But I don't feel like I'm exploiting her or any of these women. I'm fulfilling their fantasy. It's like having an affair with me, even if we're not sleeping together. They feel happy if I'm happy. If everyone is happy, no one is exploited. There's no pretense. They understand I'm only their friend until their money runs out. Hikaru, 25, born in Kobe, had been a host since he was 18. At 6'3", he was very tall for a Japanese man. Wow, rubbing it in my face, aren't you? That wasn't in the book, that was me because I'm short. He was quite a specimen. He had the glow of someone who just come out of a tanning saloon. His nails were manicured, his teeth were perfect and white, and his suit probably cost my monthly salary.
今から憂鬱なのよね。
Maybe he was getting bored with the job because he wanted to know all about my life as a reporter, even asking if one could be a journalist without a college education. But obviously he wasn't suffering as a host, where looks were important, and he looked good. Sometimes, he said, the thing to do is to find an actor you resemble and basically do an impression of the guy. You make the customer feel like she's with a celebrity.
お酒を入れてもらっても中身はただのソフトドリンクにするとか。
But most of the time I say that I'm a graduate student in law at Tokyo University, and I'm just hosting to pay the tuition.
私と勝負してみる？
It makes the customer feel like she's contributing to society, not just to my wallet. Maybe she fantasizes about someday being able to tell her friends about a famous lawyer who used to be a host, and she was his favorite customer. You have to compliment women skillfully. You can't just throw around generic lines. You don't want to say things that make them feel old. You tell a woman that her skin is flawless, the back of her neck is so erotic. You love the way her face dimples up when she smiles. If she has freckles, you ask her if she's part Caucasian. Some women like to be thought of as looking international. If you make the compliments unique to them, their eyes light up. I think that all women have their charms. You just have to look for them and recognize them. I prefer women in their 30s. Damn it. You can have a conversation with them. If you have someone who is very funny and cracks a lot of jokes, it's good to talk about something serious, and vice versa. It shows you appreciate her hidden other side. You have to be able to talk to customers about almost anything, even where they should send their kids to school. So I subscribe to 4 women's magazines to make sure I know what kind of concerns they have. They also like to talk about television programs, but since I don't have time to watch TV, I stay current by reading TV guides. In this business, though, looks are the main thing. I do weight training and aerobics, and I swim to keep myself slim and fit. Women don't like muscle-bound men. Some men look good with a little stubble. Women don't like muscle-bound men. They like a tennis player physique. I use skincare products and a warm towel before shaving to make sure my skin looks smooth. Some men look good with a little stubble. I'm not one of them. Women compliment me on my skin and my looks all the time. I make about 1,000,000 yen a month. That's a lot, but there's a lot of costs. You have to live in a nice apartment. You have to. You always have to dress stylishly. You have to buy gifts for the clients. That's all out of your pocket. And you can't be cheap about the gifts either. Sometimes it feels like the more clients you have, the less money you make. Still, I managed to save about 4,000 yen a month. 400,000 yen a month, which is more than a lot of people earn, so I can't complain. If you're saving $4,000 a month, I don't want to hear anything you have to say about anything. The bad thing is that my parents hate that I do this, even if I don't plan on doing it forever. You don't have a personal... God damn it, Majima! The bad thing is my parents hate that I do this, even if I don't plan on doing it forever. You don't have a personal life. Every day is like summer vacation, except that you don't really have the freedom. You spend most of your free time waiting on customers in one way or another. Sometimes you go shopping with a customer. Sometimes you go to a resort with her. It's hard to have a girlfriend, too. Girls don't like to date a guy who works as a host. I think I can understand that. How is she going to know if what I say for her is real or an act? Sometimes I don't know the difference. Even if I'm with a girl I really like, I sometimes find myself trying to play the angles, trying to manipulate her. Our conversation was interrupted as a client of Hikaru's entered the club. He rose to greet her, a dazzling, genuine smile on his face. Michiko, who was wearing a green dress, had her hair pulled back and secured with a black velvet hairband. She was elegant and composed. Hikaru introduced me to her, and after we exchanged the usual greetings, and she determined that I appeared to have some command of Japanese, she asked if I had a cigarette. I offered her what I had, and then, a little shakily, lit it for her. She inhaled and closed her eyes, leaning back in the sofa. She was quiet for about 10 seconds. Hikaru winked at me. As Michiko opened her eyes, she exclaimed, "The taste is so sweet. The smell is almost like incense. Where are they from?" "Indonesia," I replied. "They're Indonesian clove cigarettes." "I like them. Are you Indonesian?" "American. I have a face that's hard to place." "It's a nice face. Nowhere near as nice as yours." This shameless compliment caused Michiko to giggle, and Hikaru raised an eyebrow at me and smiled. As Michiko brought the cigarette to her lips again, I went on. "You have lovely hands. Your fingers are so long and light. They look delicate but strong. Do you play the piano?" At this, Michiko burst into laughter and slapped Hikaru on the knee. "Your friend is very perceptive. Did you tell him?" she asked. Hikaru shook his head and made comical denials. The ice broken, Michiko, Hikaru, and I chatted for a while. Hikaru was really good at his job. And then Michiko left for the evening. It was almost 4 in the morning and the place was filling up. The new crowd seemed to be mostly hostesses who had just gotten off work. All were dressed to the nines. Many were fairly inebriated. A few were loud. I wouldn't think that this would be where a hostess would want to head after hours, but then again, if you thought about it, it made sense. I would have stayed for the after 5 crowd, but I had a day job. As I was gathering my things, Hikaru asked if I wouldn't mind leaving the rest of my cigarettes. "Of course," I said. Then I asked, "How'd I do?" His response, "You have charm, but you really are a geek. You want to talk more about yourself than you want to listen to others, but you tell interesting stories, so I'm not sure that's a minus. You're also memorable and mildly amusing, and that's a plus. The clove cigarettes are a nice touch. They smell good and they're different, but they're one more thing that makes you memorable. I may start smoking them myself." He added that if I ever got tired of journalism, I might have a fallback as a host. I laughed and thanked him, and looked around to say sayonara to Ida. Ida handed me a couple of coupons and urged me to come back anytime with some female colleagues. I myself didn't return, but my colleagues apparently had a fine time. Almost 10 years later, at the time the story was taking place, it was in 1999, so 10 years later would be 2009, which is pretty close to the timeline the game takes place. Almost 10 years later, Kabukicho isn't quite like it used to be, but it is still a pretty shady place. The promise of encounters, danger, adventure, and erotic fulfillment is readily available if you know just which door on which floor in which building to knock on. Underneath that all, however, is the stink of isolation. Tokyo is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. Yet, or maybe because of it, there are so many people who have no one to confide in, no one to trust or burden with their secrets, worries, or disappointments. There is admittedly the underlying game that's the lure, but where is it not? Is this evening of sympathy and champagne going to lead to sexual intercourse? Be that as it may, what the clubs are really fueled by is alienation, boredom, and loneliness. The rates are not unreasonable, but the cost in human terms are incredibly high. So that's a good chapter that I like to reference when explaining host clubs as they're depicted in this game. As they're depicted in this game, it's basically a dating simulator. And I mean, functionally, that's the point of dating simulators also. It's virtual love, simulated intimacy. Something that is apparently a hot commodity in Japan. I personally don't see the appeal in conventional romance or simulated romance like that, but I do kind of like the idea if recontextualized. I like the idea of a club that you pay to, like, have a simulated interaction, but with like a safe. It's in a safe context.
いらっしゃいませ。
I go into more detail, but I won't. But there is a certain profile on a certain website that is certainly inspired by the idea of hostess clubs.
はーい、こっちお願い。私をもらっていい？
I'll go ahead and finish this one.
いただきます。
You never actually get to go to a host club in any of the mainline Yakuza games, which I think is kind of interesting considering Stardust is such a prominent location as part of the story. I think it'd be fun if they actually had a host club in one of the games for a change. Not every game has hostess clubs, but the ones that don't usually have a substitute where it's the same mechanics of you're on a date you're on a quote-unquote date doing the question and answer thing, trying to raise their affection meter.
せめて買ってあげるから一緒に行こうよって誘って本人に選ばせるとか。お？だって。
ちょっと待て。
I think it's actually only like 2 that don't have hostess clubs. But even in those, there's still a institution that functions in the same way and has the same minigame.
切れないのよ。どうしたらいいかな。そう。
There's also, on the PSP, there's a game, there's a PSP Yakuza game where you play as a minor, and you, as like a high school kid, and you can go to hostess clubs in that game, and you have like a different drinks menu. You can't order alcoholic drinks, like golden champagne, like you can as Kiryu. It's like a soda and juice menu, which is really funny. But yeah, even like a high school kid goes into the hostess club, and it gets pretty much in gameplay terms the exact same experience. Okay. And with this last sub-story, we will be all set. Yeah, if I can be a little bit more explicit, I like the idea of, like, a hostess club with, like... with prey. Talking to predators. To get the thrill. But it's safe, you know? Anyway. Whatever, get to the fight. Get to the fight with the generic bad guy that I got a white knight to save you from. Like what happens in every fucking hostess sub-story. The hostesses are always such terrible fucking people. Don't care. You're dumb. If you actually sincerely, honestly care, there's videos you can watch that let the dialogue linger. Or you can just pause this video. Yeah, let's let the little sex video play out. And then we will be done. What is the continuity of that shot transition? Come on. Heart attack happened because ambulance coming because Kiryu had a heart attack while watching that video. 3D pig, not into it. As soon as the virtual character model leaves the screen and the actual real life human being comes onto the screen, I lose interest. So that is everything that Yakuza Kiwami has to offer that is not the main story. We did it. There are still sub-stories, of course, that will start popping up as we continue on through, but we've gotten all, like, the dearth, the massive, like, look at that, 50 sub-stories. Almost 50 sub-stories out of 80. Half of the sub-stories in this game, all on the very first, like, open world chapter of the game. Isn't that ridiculous? So the rest of them are gonna start coming at a much more dispersed pace, and to be a little bit more story relevant, honestly. And we've covered all the different minigames. So really, there's gonna be very little distracting us aside from fucking Majima, as we continue through the main story. Which at this point was about 8... What the fuck? Was about 8 to 9 hours ago. I hope you remember what the fuck was going on in the story mode. I hope you remember because it's been a little while. You know what? I'll have Kiryu give us a little reminder. It's fine. But yep, that's everything. So, next time. Shit. Next time, after 10 years, Kiryu returns to after 10 years, Kiryu returns to Serena and will discover the truth. Dun dun dun. I'm gonna go to a save point. Oh, I can save right from the... I forgot! Man, that's so crazy. Technology's amazing. I forgot you can save right from the main menu now.